Good evening. Welcome to the October County Council meeting. I'll give everyone just a minute to take their seats. Clay, would you like to open with prayer this evening? Amen. Thank you, Clay. Betsy?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to begin this evening with a public hearing to adopt the 2022 budgets for Middletown Fall Creek Public Library and the Solid Waste Management. Last month we had a public hearing to read those budgets, so I'd like to open the public hearing now, and I'll read the budget for Middletown Fall Creek Public Library and then ask for comment. The total for the Middletown Fall Creek Public Library is $106,346. Is there any comment from the council? I'd like to open up for input from the public. Is there a motion to adopt this budget?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries, and the budget is adopted. And to continue the public hearing, I'd like to read the budget for the Solid Waste Management District. The total budget adopted is $107,496. Is there a comment from the council? We'll open up to the public. Is there a motion to accept this budget?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries and budget is adopted. Is there any comment before closing the public hearing? Okay. And that will end the public hearing for this evening. At this time, I'd like to invite Corey to give an EDC update, and Penny, if she'd like to come as well. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to give you an update. I just handed out a packet of information that I'll quickly run through. So the first one is some aerial photography that we hired and out in the industrial park. It's a pretty good bird's eye view of all the activity that's going out. So that's Brooks Drive and 400 South. And so immediately below the camera there is the TS Tech expansion. And then across Brooks Drive is the Shell building. And then to the right, or the north, is the industrial road that the county RDC is building. And then to the south, or to the left of the new Shell building, is the Boar's Head Hummus facility. So it's a great bird's eye view of all the activity going on out there, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Appreciate your role, along with the county commissioners, in supporting all that activity out there. Certainly is a team effort. The next item in your packet is an article that appeared in the most recent edition in the Business Facilities magazine. It's probably more accurately described as an advertorial. Through a partnership with the Henry County REMC and Hoosier Energy, we're able to basically write the article, and it sells our community and sells our region to a national audience in a trade magazine. So I'll leave that to you for your reading pleasure, but it is a nice overview with a focus on one of our target industries, and that's food processing. You know, the most well-known food processor in the area is Boar's Head, but now we have the Preppy Puppy Bakery. Say that fast. Preppy Puppy Bakery on New York Avenue. They're located here, their second facility. They're making gourmet dog treats. And then we have Holic Foods up in Middletown. So it's, and if you go out into East Central Indiana, we have over 30 food companies in our region. So it's an important target, and it's an important cluster from an existing employer base. So that article provides a nice overview. Third is we launched our brand publicly last week, and this is an article that gives you an overview. I know Penny and another colleague came and gave you an update, but last Thursday we started at Shenandoah and met with the basketball team there, and so there'll be a banner at the home of the Raiders, and then we went to Blue River, Newcastle, Tri, and ended up in Knightstown. So every high school gymnasium will have this banner and our website in their building, and it's also an opportunity for tourism to support the local schools. So we gave them sponsorship dollars out of our advertising budget. It's a good way to partner with the schools, and so I think that brand, you know, basketball lives here, particularly if you look at what's coming up. Hoosier Gym is hosting 35th anniversary of the movie, 100th anniversary of hosting a game there in that facility. So good opportunity there, drawing our target market, and then every year in December between Christmas and New Year's, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame hosts the Boys and Girls Hall of Fame Classic, which usually fills the field house for a holiday tournament with top-rated teams from across the state to come here and compete. So we're going to have a strong presence there as well. However, it's not just about basketball. That's the hook. We're also going to promote all the other tremendous assets that we have in the county: parks, trails, museums. And so what's important to a traveler or a visitor is really important to a resident as well. So it kind of does this. It's all about quality of place and quality of life. Not in your packet. Appreciate Council President Hoon and Councilman Malacote joining the Food and Beverage Advisory Committee earlier this week. That was well received, providing the update on, you know, confirming the $1.2 million is available from cash on hand out of the food and beverage, and then that the council is open, although no decisions have been made, but open to considering additional projects in an amount up to $4.4 million, with the emphasis on up to. And so the committee appreciated that. The deadline originally was this Friday, tomorrow, right, the 29th? So it is now January 10th. In light of this new information, we extended the deadline for applications And by way of reminder, those applications are available on the EDC website, growinhenry.com. Right there on the main page, you click on it. You can download the application as a PDF to kind of look at it, scribble on it, write on it, and then we would prefer, if all possible, use the Google form, which is exactly what the PDF is, but submit the application online via the Google form. We have a tentative goal, although we didn't vote on this, so it could change, but we have a tentative goal to hopefully get you all a recommendation, maybe by the end of February. But I think that'll depend on how many projects we get. We want to do a thorough job. My fellow committee members, we want to, go through a nice process, put appropriate due diligence into our recommendations. And finally, I want to give you a READY update. I emailed out a link that was downloadable, I think. Initially, the plans were so large that it was very difficult to download that plan from the state website. I think it's been fixed. And so, and then we also, in that email, I forwarded you what our region was saying about the process. We await additional instructions from the state in terms of how they're going to proceed. The regions have been asked to hold their calendar for the end of November, 1st of December, for an opportunity to go over, I assume, Indianapolis to make a presentation. We have a regional meeting tomorrow to talk about planning that presentation and what components. We won't have much time in the presentation, so unlike my updates to you, as I feel the love coming from the auditor's table, right, I've already talked too much. Thank you. We'll have to be brief because there's 17 regions, and I think everybody's going to get every region is going to get an opportunity to make a presentation. And so that committee that's been set up by the IEDC, which is a nice cross-section of business and philanthropic leaders from across the state, they'll want to listen. So I think brevity will be our friend. The projects that were highlighted in the plan were highlighted in such a way that we wanted to put forth the most compelling case to earn and receive an investment from the state. However, that doesn't necessarily mean those projects will receive funding. We don't know enough. And if you recall, initially we only had like 30 days to put it together. Other regions were kind of struggling, so we got an extension. And so they gave us another 30 days, but still 60 days to put together a comprehensive regional plan. We did it, and we did it well, and I'm proud of the product, but it was a heavy lift. Happy to answer any questions. In closing, I'll say that Penny this week represented the county at a site selectors event over in Indianapolis, marketing Henry County and the region to half a dozen site selectors that were hosted. It was called Economix Indianapolis, and it was an event that was originally going to be hosted or held last year, but the Scourge took care of postponing that meeting, and so I'm appreciative of having her on the team, and she could be over there doing some external marketing, and I could be here taking care of some projects at the same time. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Corey, congratulations on the brand launch. I think it's gone really well. It looks really good, really professional. It's exciting. I had the opportunity last Friday night. We have Ball State homecoming, and we had a big dinner. The governor was in attendance, and I had the chance to spend some time with him, and I told him about our relaunch and the brand. And Hoosier Gym is where Governor Holcomb kicked off his re-election campaign, and he was very, very excited. He was very interested. So I was excited to relay that information to him, and I think we might be able to get him back here for an event.
Thank you.
Is there a web page that's up or in progress on
On the tourism?
Yes, on the tourism, the basketball is here.
So there's a placeholder website at hoopsinhenry.com. We have signed a contract with a firm to redo our website, and we have a stretch goal of having that completed by December 31st. So when you go to Hoops and Henry now, it's simply a landing page with some good information, but then it links to the former website because that's where all the information's housed. So we're in process. Oh, we have T-shirts. The Hoops and Henry, if you want a T-shirt, send me your size and I'll get you one. And it reminds me, I think I ought to send one to the governor.
Thank you, Corey. I'd like to invite State Representative Saunders to address the council.
Thank you. Thanks for working me in. I read the paper a couple of weeks ago where you'd had a presentation by Newcastle City Council regarding an exchange at I-70 and State Road 103. It's the second or third time I'd heard about it. For my 25 years at the State House, I've served on roads and transportation, so I was a little perplexed that I hadn't heard about it before. So I did some digging, and I'm going to read you an email from the director of our district. Tom, where are you hearing about this exchange at 103? This is not in any of our plans, or is it a topic of discussion everywhere I've looked? No one on my team has been approached about this. I do have a voicemail from Sherry Denny to call her back. I've had several calls, too, from people wanting to know what's going on and when it's going to happen. From a traffic management perspective, there's no need. A full interchange is roughly $20 million. So I don't know where our proposals are coming from. I have the distinction of representing three of the most underutilized exchanges in the state, and my choice would be that we improve those three interchanges before we go looking at building another one. And from a personal perspective, I live the second house north of US 40 on the east side of 103. If you would put an exchange on I-70 and State Road 103, you're going to have to destroy a portion of downtown Louisville, what there is of it, because my house sets 6 feet from the road, along with all those other homes down there, and that exchange would have to be rebuilt. So I just wanted to talk on behalf of the citizens who are concerned about the proposal that has been presented to the commissioners and the council. I think we've got the horse before the cart, and I just wanted to clarify that for you if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there
Thank
any
you.
questions for Tom this evening?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to jump back to the itinerary now and begin with a series of transfers. The first requested transfer is from the county commissioners, from buildings, liabilities to office supplies, $500, along with $1,882.96 from repair and maintenance to sheriff vehicles. Are there questions or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next transfer is request is from the county coroner, requesting $320 to be transferred from travel to deputy coroner, along with $304.70 to be transferred from disaster supplies to deputy coroner. Are there questions or a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next transfer request is from our county sheriff, requesting $5,000 to be moved from gas and oil to vehicle maintenance. Are there questions or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our last transfer is a request from our county auditor requesting $7,500 to be moved from clerks to computer training. Are there questions or a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next on our itinerary, we have requests for additional appropriations. And the first set are requests from 911, requesting $11,000 for Social Security and Medicare, $8,000 for PERF, and $3,000 for part-time. And I was wondering, Debbie, could you let us know what this is for again? I'm not. For the additional appropriation for 911. What is that for? I don't remember what that was for.
The 911 is the Social Security Medicare.
Is that an additional person, or what was?
Is that the additional, then we changed the rate of pay for them a while back, and they were
Okay.
taking that out of state is what,
Okay,
it's the rate of pay changes.
the rate of pay being that bonus
That
type
extra
for the
$250
part-time.
per hour, yeah, that
Okay.
they were paying part-time.
Okay. Does that clarify for everyone else who may have had a question? Are there other questions or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries. The second additional appropriation request is from our coroner, requesting an additional appropriation of $700 for vehicle maintenance. And this additional request would come from the general fund. Are there questions, discussion? Yes. Or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
I'd simply like to say our budget for coroners, the least of counties of our size in Indiana.
I agree. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next on our itinerary is a discussion about the interlocal agreement between Henry and Randolph County regarding our highway engineer. So I have been involved in several discussions. I wanted to summarize them. As of right now, the county council and the county commissioners have agreed or have voted to move forward with an interlocal agreement. We now actually have an interlocal agreement that is almost completed. It's completed enough that our attorney, Joel, is recommending that we could feel comfortable going ahead and moving forward. Did you want to say anything about it? Go ahead.
The commissioners approved it yesterday. It was discovered this morning there was a typographical error on Exhibit A to the agreement. And in particular, on the second page, there was a typographical agreement as to the medical insurance and the life insurance, which listed incorrectly as something that the county doesn't offer, but I think that's been corrected now. I think the intent of it was understood, so I'm going to the version will just have to get a new Exhibit A, like to get added to the official version that's signed by everybody.
And I appreciate the work that Joel has done on this. I thought we could separate it into two different things. The salary ordinance is an amended salary ordinance with the new salary for our county highway engineer being $130,000. This actually reduces the amount that our county will be responsible for because that salary will be split between us and Randolph County, along with us being reimbursed $40,000. Is it 40 even? $40,000 from the state. So this actually reduces what we would pay from our general fund to our county highway engineer. So is it okay with the council if we vote first on the salary ordinance and then move to the interlocal? Okay. Are there questions on the salary ordinance or a motion to approve?
What's the net after sharing with Randolph and the 40,000 reimbursement from the state? I mean, do you just take 40 from the 130, or is this amount, how does Randolph calculate into this?
So the net impact to the county is $25,000, because the 130 split in two at 65, then the 40 for each county, so it's 25 per county.
So it's a considerable savings for Henry County.
Yes, because our current rate of pay is more than double that.
And I think more than ever, it's important that we keep our county engineer. We know that in Washington, they're talking a lot about infrastructure for better and for worse. And, but those funds, a lot of those funds would be designated back to states and local entities for bridges. I was reading all about it today. So I think it's really good that we would continue to hold on to our engineer, knowing that hopefully some of that money would trickle down to us.
All right, is there a motion to approve or further discussion?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, motion carries. So we have approved the salary ordinance, and Joel was explaining to me today that the interlocal agreement is really approved by the commissioners. It can also be approved by the council, or else it goes to the attorney.
The Attorney General's office has to review it, the fiscal body doesn't approve it.
Okay.
The statute's a little unclear as to, it then provides the Attorney General's office to provide comments as to whether or not it feels anything else is needed and if necessary. It doesn't really say that you can't go ahead with the agreement if you don't get that approval, and then it also provides that the Attorney General's office doesn't respond within 30 or 45 days, it's deemed to be fully acceptable. So it's sort of a condition precedent if you don't have fiscal body approval, but I think if you do have fiscal body approval, you can skip that step.
So it really is, it's a contract for our county that the commissioners are responsible for, and we have an opportunity to approve it also. When I looked through it, I didn't see anything financially that was concerning. You know, Chad wanted to make a statement, or have you chosen not to?
Well, you know, I feel the same way. I mean, I guess from our seat, it's, we have to strictly look at it financially. And I don't see anything financially concerning in this contract. So, I mean, that's, were I a commissioner, I might feel differently, but
It will be a lot to,
yeah.
To
I think
manage,
it's
but-
a lot of moving parts, but yeah, I think financially, I don't see the downside.
are
the
there,
county.
yeah. Does anyone else have a comment about it, or discussion, or question for Joel? Yes, sir. Could you actually come up here, though, and tell us your name for... And if you tell us your name, we can enter you into the meeting minutes, sir. I'll just let Joel answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's a one-year contract, yeah.
party can cancel it on 4 months' notice. Also, for whatever reason, Mr. Copeland stopped being the county engineer, then either party can cancel on 10 days' notice. So it's not a long-term commitment. It's also subject to appropriation. So that means the council has to approve the funding for it every year too, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sometimes I get lost. Did we have a motion to approve? No? No? Okay, are there other questions or a motion to approve the contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and the contract has been approved. All right, next on our itinerary is the Spiceland Library Board appointment. And Debbie, I received just April Isaacs. Did you receive any others? Okay. So April Isaacs is very interested in filling this position and has been very patient, because we always post notice in the paper to make sure that no one else is interested as well. I just wanted to read her letter of interest for those here, and then we will vote. My name is April Isaacs. I live in Spiceland Township. I was an English teacher at Tri-High for 27 years. I coached for an additional 3 years while a student at Ball State. I coached both our high school speech team and our junior high academic team. I was also a volleyball, basketball, tennis, and softball coach for many years. I was a sponsor for the student council and a chair for our school improvement committee. I worked countless hours in concession stands and at school events. Being an active member of our school and community has always been a calling for me. I've been a member of the St. Elizabeth Parish in Cambridge City for over about 30 years. I also taught CCD classes there for 10 years. My husband Keith and I raised 2 children, Courtney and Travis. Both have grown into compassionate and hardworking individuals. Courtney works in the ER at Hancock Regional Hospital, and Travis is an engineer at A-Team Molds in Muncie. I am thankful for the experiences of raising two completely different types of learners, for it helped me to learn how to motivate, support, and teach students who came to me with different academic backgrounds. Reading is such an essential skill for all of us. From the teacher and parent perspectives, I have watched children both struggle and succeed. Comprehending, inferring, predicting, drawing conclusions, and understanding character motivation are all such important life skills. Books teach us to imagine and be creative. They teach us to critically think. They provide escapes when life becomes difficult. Helping students fall in love with reading has always been a passion of mine. Our libraries are valuable resources which need to be treasured, encouraged, updated, and available to all of our citizens. I look forward to bringing my parental and educational backgrounds to our community to create programs and help serve all as we find ways to meet their needs and wants. I continue to teach in the classroom at Franklin County High School. I am now in my 33rd year of teaching. Keith and I reside in Knightstown, Indiana, and Spiceland Township. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. So she seems exceedingly qualified to fill this position and would like very much to do it. And she is not able to come tonight because of, I think, recovering from a back injury or surgery. I can't recall. But is there a motion to approve, or questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve April.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to add, because we didn't have discussion, that
Sorry.
she was a fine, motivated English teacher when I was assistant principal back in the 90s at South Henry. And I think her husband's a principal of Franklin County, if I'm not mistaken, unless he's since retired. Great family. And I think she'll do very well. I'm very well motivated to serve in this position at the Spiceland Library. They'll be happy to have her.
Thank you, Kenan. All right. Joe, would you like to provide us with a highway department update?
Well, it's a busy time of the year for the highway, trying to wrap things up before winter. Chip seal season is over, too cold, and we're paving right now, particularly up around the Middletown area. Milestone will be starting the Community Crossings Matching Grant Resurface Project next week, starting Monday. They'll do the prep work for the roads, and then right soon after, hopefully, they'll get to doing the resurface. And that's Dublin Pike, Raider Road, and 325 West, South Spiceland. So that's going to begin. And I'm already looking into next year for roads to resurface and for community crossing matching grant application roads. I gave the commissioners some maps yesterday to look at and see what they think. So, and I'm looking at major collectors and minor collectors, the more traveled roads to do. So the roads that Milestone will be doing will be 325 West will be closed because it's not wide enough for them to pave and let people by. So, but Dublin Pike and Raider Road, I told them that they're going to try to hold it open for traffic to let people through, but I said if it gets dangerous, you're going too fast, I told them shut the road. I don't want anybody hurt. So I don't know if you've heard about Union County lost, two highway workers were hit, and one was killed, and the other one, as last I heard, was still in the hospital. So we don't want anything like that. So and that's it. Any questions?
It's 325 West comes the back way to Spiceland to Draper, right?
Draper,
Like
that's right.
3 continued north where it takes a jog there in Dundreary.
Yeah,
to go
right
straight.
across from 3. Yes, sir. The Old Bogues Orchard Road is what we used to call it.
It's in pretty bad shape. I'm glad that.
Oh, it is.
So
It's
is
terrible.
Dublin Pike.
And it's up to 750. North of 750, it's in pretty good shape. So
I was excited to see that some of the federal money may be able to go towards roads. Have you been involved in any of that?
I'm using as much community crossings money as I can. I can get up to $1 million a year, and we got our $1 million this year, and I'll be using it on those roads. And then the application starts up again, I believe, in January, and I plan on applying for that money.
That's a 20% match, right? We have to match 20%, is that correct?
75-25.
Okay.
Now, federal is 80-20. The problem with using federal funds on roads is by the time you use it and spend only 20%, but you have to spend a lot more money to do it because you have to buy new right-of-way. There's all kinds of environmental issues that you have to go through, a corridor study. I mean, it's rather lengthy on a lot of these. So, yeah, and by the time you go through all that, I can use community crossings and go out and pave it, have it done in maybe a fifth of the time. So.
The other thing I noticed, and I brought it up to this group before, is our cumulative bridge is really low compared with most East Central Indiana counties. And I know we only have 2 bridges that are on that under 50% rating or 50 rating.
Yes, we get a little over $300,000 a year.
And we have counties in our population range getting over 1 million. So
Yes.
We're a drop in the bucket compared with most cumulative bridge funds as far as budgeting.
A small structure, if I go the most economic way to replace it, I'm still looking, with the prices that have been going up on steel, I'm probably up around $250,000 to replace a bridge. This year I was able to, we had some extra money, of course, in bridge, so I was able to do a deck repair and overlay down on 700 South near Tri-High. We just finished a superstructure improvement, or replacement, I should say, on 850 East, north of 300 South, and we're currently working to replace a bridge on 325 East, south of 200 North. That's a total replacement. And then we did the large box culvert on Dublin Pike there at 250 East, and I'm out of money. I don't have any more. So. It's going to get used.
We figure on highway it's going to all be used, and the need's probably 3 times what
Oh, yeah.
we can fund,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately.
I mean, we're still patching. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Angela, would you like to give us a health department update this evening?
Just in general on the COVID front, we haven't really moved our needle. Fully vaccinated individuals in the county is just under 50%. So we're pretty status quo across the line. We've remained in an orange level for several weeks now. We don't seem to be able to move that needle down either. On a monetary front, the State Department of Health is on a trajectory to provide funds with a very distinct purpose to bolster nursing staff in the nursing side of their environment or of their health departments over the next at least 2 years. And so if it would be all right with the council, I have an additional monies coming through a line grant that Debbie and I are working with, so it doesn't need an additional grant number. However, these funds are rather significant so that I can actually hire full-time staff to do the job that's ahead. The state will be dismantling their contact tracing system through the state, and they will be putting that all back on us 100% by the end of March. And so I need to have staff ready to go for that. They also intend for these funds to be used to create at least one school liaison position, with that being hopefully a registered nurse who can work closely with the school nurses in our county to provide programming and not only get good information, correct information out about COVID-19, the immunizations, and all the things that we're going to be dealing with it for several years to come. We all really hoped that it would come, we would get vaccinated. it would wane and it would become endemic like influenza, but it does not appear that that's going to be for at least a couple of years. And so the schools were given by Dr. Box this week 3 documents reminding them about Indiana Code and the communicable disease law and the things that they are required by law to do and cannot opt out of, meaning identifying positive cases, doing contact tracing of those individuals who've been in contact, and then quarantining. And so with that funding that is coming, I will also be able to provide positions that will be under the auspice of the health department, but be deployed into each school system to be a hands-on help to those school nurses who are absolutely drowning and taking the brunt of that contact tracing right now. So these positions, I will be able to start posting immediately. I do have a pretty much of an idea of where we're going with that. It will have no impact on our 1159 account. It will all be grant funded, or it will be funded through insurance payments that we have received for providing COVID immunizations since January 28th. And so the state has been able to be that third-party billing system for us, and we received our first check a few weeks ago for that reimbursement for those immunizations. So that's wonderful, and they are absolutely going to do that through the end of December. We're not sure if they're going to do it through the first quarter of next year or not. So our goal will be to utilize not only any grant funding, but any insurance funding that is coming to provide staffing for our department. And so when I do post the positions, whether Debbie went to the your conference last week, and one of the big topics that they talked about was that insurance check that came a few weeks ago and about where it should be deposited. And according to the State Board of Accounts, unanimously, they said that it did need to go into the 1159 account. And, all of, from my end, the administrators across the county, our intent is to put that back into the nursing department to try to add staff, because we're all in the same boat. We don't have the staff to take on that contact tracing. We didn't have it to begin with, but we didn't have these funds to begin with to hire people. So it'll come back into that account per State Board of Accounts, but it will be earmarked to put positions out there. So it'll be there, but it's not going to affect our budget as it has been submitted for 2022. Does that make sense? Okay. So with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and start posting some of these positions and get this program started.
On this grant, is it a grant that is already decided upon between the department and the state, or is it a grant that we vote on?
Oh, it's just given to us, quite simply.
The state is just directly giving it to you, and
We've had whatever this line item is, 8135. So it kind of right after COVID started, we got a little bit of funding that came through that, and I went through the process and got the numbers and everything. And they just keep adding additional funds to it. I can't think of the word that they call it. So they gave us an additional amount of money to provide off-site clinics. So we held the Knightstown, the 2 Saturdays that we did over Knightstown. Some of it is reimbursable, where I pay up front and then I have to turn the invoice in. So a portion of it is that way. Some of the funds are just a deliverable based. So according to this last piece of funding that's coming, it will be deliverable based. So as soon as I can give them confirmation that I've hired, for example, that school liaison, they will cut us a check for the first half of that funding, and it'll be for 2 years.
is it, and I'm just trying to get my head around, because there's so many moving parts today, from the federal government to the state government to the local government.
Mm-hmm.
Is this all, I realize the state may get some funding from from the federal government. But the funding that we get locally does it have federal government strings attached to it?
Yes, but most of mine do.
And so here's straight to the point.
Okay.
So we have, at this point in the game, and forgive me for my ignorance, we have no, and I don't mean this facetiously at all, you know me personally, so as a council, we have no authority, if you will, to do anything about it as far as like reading.
How it's spent? Or-
Reading the grant, reading the
Oh.
fine material, reading through the process, all that. That is all done through federal to state to local health department.
Correct.
And we're kind of over here, and the only thing we can do is say, yes, it's okay to hire some people.
And yes, correct. So as far as the mother may I, if you will, about the grant, that's been taken care of through the commissioners. So when I apply for the grant, or they say, Angela, do you want to participate in this? And yes, then I go to Debbie and say, put me on the commissioner's agenda. So that was done many, many, many months ago.
Okay.
It's the same grant, but it's been very easy for them to funnel as they get money through that. It streamlines it extremely, and it keeps the auditor's office from having 5 million different grant lines through there. It is different. It's different than anything they've ever done, and it is frustrating because it's all boggled together in that one grant. So, but from that standpoint, yes, we've taken care of all the permission and for the State Board of Accounts, that's all tracked and correct. So what I'm asking you tonight, because I know that the hiring piece right now, all of the department heads have been coming to you at least and asking permission to either fill a position that has been vacated or whatever. So I wanted to let you know that I have these funds that do not affect my direct budget with the 1159 Health Fund account. May I go ahead and post these positions? I just didn't want you to think I was posting positions and didn't ask you.
Did we lift that restriction? We talked about lifting that restriction. I can't remember if we did that.
I can't remember either. I thought it was easier to ask.
Yeah, the thing that I do think that we said that was okay is if there was a position, a vacated position, we were going to give a little more leniency to a vacated position.
All right. Thanks for your questions, Clay. Does anyone else have a question for Angela or a motion to approve her request?
So I move we approve Angela's request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Angela. Okay, Kenan, you have an insurance update and then an ARP-ARA update.
Yes, I think Betsy passed out the latest aggregate stop-loss report for self-insured through Advantis from Josh. One side is just through August, and we realized that was an old report we had gotten, so one side is through September, and that's the side you need to look at. We are a little bit over because primarily last month, as I mentioned a month ago, we had one of the highest medical claim months in the last 2 years since we've been tracking this. So we're at 106% of actual based on that very high August report. But we just have to keep monitoring it. We're not in bad shape. We just hope, as I mentioned last month, that we don't have too many more Augusts with the 437 in medical claims and a little over 10,000 in RX claims. So we're holding our own, but we need to just monitor it. And we have no control over people getting sick and hospitalized or any of those things. So we just watch it very closely because it does have an impact on our budget. Any questions? Okay. The ARP-ARA, Victoria Beckert, I believe is her name, she gave an update from ARA last month saying that there was Okra OOR, which is owner-occupied rehab, second round available to us. They gave us an extension. What she's waiting on is a commitment of where our match of approximately 10% is going to come out of. And we discussed last month food and beverage, we discussed ARP. Well, the meeting on ARP, the American Rescue Plan, that was to have been yesterday was canceled. So I don't have an update on that, though we feel very confident it is an acceptable program payment out of ARP. We've not double-checked with Baker Tilly, but reading the guidelines from the U.S. Treasury, we're highly confident it would be. But she needs to know tonight, because I don't believe it was discussed at the commissioners' meeting and the ARP meeting that was canceled. Obviously wasn't discussed at a meeting that didn't exist. So we have to make a decision tonight, or we will lose out on approximately $270,000 that very likely would be approved for Henry County for low to moderate income housing projects for people who otherwise would not be able to afford to make upgrades such as new roofs, insulation, ADA ramps, et cetera. We have approximately 20 households, owner-occupied residents that fall in that criteria that benefited from the $300,000 that the state gave us from the Stellar in 2019. ARA administered that. There were 41 persons, homeowners, on the waiting list. So the demand is high, the money's there. We need to decide tonight, food and beverage, ARP. If ARP is approved, we don't need food and beverage, we need to have that discussion. And I think Bobby, the commissioner, would like to.
Let me tell you who I am. Bobby Plummer, Henry County Commissioner. It's my understanding that ARP monies cannot be committed until a plan is written. I will say why the meeting was canceled yesterday is we didn't get it public noticed, and that was my fault. We didn't get the public notice, therefore we couldn't have the meeting because this committee is considered a governing body, and even if we had pulled out 2 commissioners, there would still be a majority of people in attendance, and we could not have that meeting without the public notice. But it's my understanding, and Debbie can confirm, because she just came back from the auditor's conference, that we can't commit ARP monies without a written plan. So
What if we?
now the written plan, once the written plan is fluid, so once let's say we write a plan that has 2 items on it, that can change and added to until December 31st of 2024. So it's not a plan that's in concrete that we have to 1, 2, 3, and we can't add 4, 5, 6, or 8, 9, 10. I missed 7, sorry. But we can't commit monies without a written plan that's been approved by the commissioners.
So this is for you and Joel. Could we say something like, will be funded with, is it ARP? With ARP funds if included in the plan?
But we don't know when that plan's going to be devised or written, or
Is there any way that we could say we're going to use it if it's an option and food and beverage is a backup, or can we just not even go there at all?
I mean, I do agree with what Commissioner Plummer said, you do have to have a plan
Yeah.
to spend it, so I'm trying to think of a way to do that. I mean, other than saying those appropriated subject to commissioners ultimately developing a plan that would contain it. I don't know if that's a firm enough commitment.
Right.
right.
What you need tonight, that's the only question.
That may not be.
Affirmative.
Victoria was really saying we need to identify for Indiana the CDBG funds through Okra, exactly which funds are going to be committed for the match. And again, it's only 10%. And she said she had to know this week. She was fishing for it last week. I said, we're not going to have these meetings until this week. So we need to make some kind of commitment, or we give up $270,000 for low to middle income rehabilitation of their residences.
So is food and beverage, is it available to do with food and beverage?
Is there interest in
So
food and beverage
With-
funds?
I guess part of with the delay in the Food and Beverage Committee, making a decision, that's going to continue. There's roughly about $45,000, give or take, that goes in every month on an average basis. So there should be sufficient funds and still not affect the 1.2 million that would go to the committee or the potential backup funds that we have in the account. So I know I made this comment at our last meeting that I strongly support this. So I think ARP would be a great fit, but if that's not available, I also strongly support coming out of food and beverage because I think this is a big impact for a minimal investment. And I think this is a perfect example of what the food and beverage could be used for. I don't see any legal issues with that. We've done it in the past. So I would feel confident that we could utilize the food and beverage and it would not put a strain on the food and beverage committee or put any additional strain on the safety net funds that we decided to keep in there or the funds that we need to use to pay the bonds that are committed out of that account.
Can you substitute the funding source? I mean, in other words, if at the next commissioners meeting, the commissioners were to include ARP spending or develop ARP spending plan that included that amount, could you then say, well, we've got this source, we decided to use another source? Or do you know the answer?
Well, she did say they needed to know exactly which source.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like some of the things we do. You have a additional expenditure, an appendix, an addendum. I don't know how Okra works at the state level, but probably yes. But I don't know enough about the inner workings at the state because it's a federal fund to the state, like Clay was talking about. So it would take a special lawyer.
And I believe
answer that
we're going to be
question.
calling an ARP meeting for next week because there's some other things that have come up that potentially might need to be moved forward, so.
Okay.
I will say that the Baker Tilly analysis they gave us, from which we said you have 1.2 million. We'll have 1.2 million in January. By the time that comes to us in February at the earliest, we'll have that additional 40-some-odd thousand dollars. So it's covered without affecting the 1.2, as Chad said. So the monies are there. We're not committing something that we don't have or do not anticipate having.
And I agree, this is a great project. I mean, this helps a lot of people. It concerns me to try to commit funds that we don't have a plan.
Right, we were just
A written
trying to
plan
think
in
if
place.
there
Oh,
was some way we could
Oh,
word it,
absolutely, if we could do it,
it may
yeah.
just not work.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right.
So
thank
it
you.
looks like, I mean, we could ask the question, when the time comes, can we change funding sources? But at least for the purposes of tonight.
Yes, and Victoria could ask the people at the State House that's overseeing this program, and she could get an answer. We just don't have it tonight.
Would there be someone that wanted to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we approve the matching funds out of the food and beverage balance.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I wanted to take a second to provide an explanation of a salary review process that we've been going through. So during budget session, we worked hard to provide raises as much as possible to our employees. And overall, that process went well. And then it went through kind of a review process with the auditor and our HR department. And they found that we had tried to give raises to bring people up to market value. And we based that on market value rates that we received from an independent company. We had, in the process of doing that, created a situation where some people within the same job class had gotten different raises, which is not okay. So that we have been working this week, Chad Malacote, Ken Gray, and myself with the auditor and others in our HR department to make sure that we were in the process of doing the raises, we did not mess up any job classes. So we have not decreased anybody's raise for the most part. I think there were a few that went down maybe $20 or something like that in the process of evening people out. So, and none of those changes were within our sheriff's deputies department at all or our jailers. So, and we're not done with that right now. We are still in the process of working through that. There was a concern that everyone on the council didn't know that was happening, which is something that I think they should have been made aware of, and I apologize to Clay for that because he received questions and didn't have answers to give to people. So we have been reviewing that only because we want it to be right legally. People in the same job class need to be receiving the same salary, and I think that a process improvement would be for us to communicate better when we're working together, and I know Clay wanted to say something to that regard as well.
Yeah, you pretty much said it. I appreciate that. And I will take this time to, before the meeting, I probably did get a little loud. I tend to do that when I get emotional, and some in the audience noticed I was a little emotional. Miss Patty reminded me to smile. The reason for my frustration had nothing to do with President Hoon. She accepted what I said, and it was, she totally agreed that it was some miscommunication, and we all should have been informed at least that there was some meetings going on. My frustration was with another council member who disagreed with me and thought that because it was the Finance Committee, a subcommittee of the council, that the other council members did not need to receive an email about it because it was legally advertised. The only thing to legally advertise a public meeting is to put it in the newspaper and to put it, and we also put it on the door of the courthouse. And that's where my frustration came, was simply because as a council member, I found out about some of the things they were trying to work out through someone else who saw it on the courthouse door. I assumed they were meeting about some other things, found out they wasn't. And then tonight, when I expressed my concerns to President Hoon, she was very accepting of that. But I did get a little bit more upset when I was told that I did not need to receive an email to be informed that that was what was going on. And my reply was simply, I am a councilman. It was the Finance Committee. The main job of the council is the finances of the county. And I would have just liked to have been made aware that something has went astray. Some things did need to be lined up. And so I have multiple times been accused of talking too much, but I've never been accused of not being transparent. And I appreciate that, President Hoon, that you accepted what I had to say. Thank you very much, and thank you for the time for me to explain myself, because I shouldn't have let it get to me that much.
That's fine. So I think that, as Clay is saying, it is a big deal. What we did with salaries was really important to all of us, and when we were made aware that it needed to have attention to it, there was, we wanted to get it done and didn't stop to communicate it. So, and that process is ongoing. We still have a few people on there that are like, this is still not right. We still need to make it right. We want it to be right when we're done. So there's a question to the council. We could make it a work session so that we're all available to be there, or we can keep it this subcommittee, which still has to be published, in which case other council members would be able to attend but not participate. So it really is up to everybody. If we open up work sessions so we can all talk, or if we keep it subcommittee, it will probably be 1 or 2 more meetings while we make sure that we have everything ironed out with HR. So does anyone have a preference?
At this point, I would like to be there. I'd like it to be a work session, and then that way too, some of the other department heads could be involved if they want to listen in and stuff. And because over the years, one of the big issues, the one thing since I've been on the council that's created a lot of distrust or mistrust, I'm not sure exactly how to word it, is there hasn't been communication. And I'm going way back, right? And so I think just being able to openly have that conversation would be good, especially since we're talking about people's salaries and with the culture of who's doing what around here and things of that nature. So I would prefer a work session, and I would do everything within my power to schedule that on my schedule to make sure I'm here.
Okay, so if there's no objection, our next meeting would be a work session, so everyone can participate while we make sure every single salary line by line is exactly what we want it to be. So I think we bored the department heads that came as we started going through, but everyone's definitely welcome to come. So are there any other business items from the council? No, we don't. Debbie? And I think we're waiting on Ann. Ann was going to do, some of them we even asked Ann, our human resources director, to send back to job classification to make sure they have the right job classification. And if their job classification is correct, then we know we have to pay them that salary, so no date yet. But
President Hoon, in saying all this, though, because I do appreciate, I think this council has done a tremendous job of trying to get things lined out and in order. Because, as you know, when you came in, there was a lot in disarray, and everybody has worked very hard. I acknowledge all of that.
Yep, that's fine. Understood. Any other business from the council?
I'll simply say I won't be available next week, but I don't know when you're planning on scheduling it, but go ahead with whatever's best for the majority.
I'll wait until Ann and Debbie tell me it's time to meet again. Okay. Okay, so it may be a few weeks. And just for clarification, there are not any material changes except for salaries going up. So I don't think it's going to be upsetting to anybody. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak with the council this evening? You can come forward.
How are y'all? It's been a minute.
Real good.
I really wanted to address Angela. I wanted to say thank you for all of the healthcare workers for everything that you guys have done. That being said, I am a little concerned about the mask mandates that have gone back into schools. Florida just dropped to the lowest coronavirus cases in the nation. I just wondered if you had any idea of when those might be lifted in the schools for the children. Okay. What are we trying to get to? Because I know you said that it's been several weeks since everything has been orange. So is there any place that we're trying to get to where those could be lifted? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Nelson Mays, citizen of Newcastle, Henry County. First, I would like to say one thing directed to the council. I really appreciate the way that you guys just handled the situation that arose between the misunderstandings between you guys, inadvertent to letting the public come in and bring it to everybody's awareness. I want to commend you guys for that effort to work together. I appreciate that because that is what we all look for. Second, my question kind of is directed towards Angela. With all the requirements for testing and the masks and everything trying to be dwindled down with the coronavirus, COVID-19, where are we at, or is there an expectation for more of the quick test to be delivered to Henry County? Because a lot of the tests, you go everywhere now, like say for surgery, I know there is a lengthy waiting list for people who are waiting for procedures to be done because the test to go all the way up into your brain is not appealing to anyone, especially myself. I had to cancel a procedure because we were short on the quick test. But I do know that the majority of people do not mind having the quick test done. It's just something about the one that goes to your brain. So, yeah. And like, I personally had a $25,000 surgery to my sinuses just so that I can breathe. Since the masks mandates, I currently use 3 different nose sprays. 2 are medicated, prescribed. Take 2 different sinus pills and a steroid nasal rinse along with a regular nasal rinse. I go through all of this because of everyone else's uncomfortableness with the masks and everything else. But the test that goes to the brain, I cannot have that. I spent $25,000 for that surgery. So. Yes. And yes, and how soon? Yes, for the majority part of the year, they were doing the quick test. And was it a month ago? A month ago, I was going in for a procedure and was expecting the same quick test. But then they said the only tests that they have available are. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had them, but they're out, and they're saying that there's not many available. So that's why I'm like, do we know when we're going to have some more available for Henry County? Because they did tell me that is a lengthy list. Okay. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, thank you, guys.
Yep, thanks, Nelson. Is there any, Steve, did you want to address us tonight?
The only thing I would like to ask is, I appreciate everything you guys do. It's just what Clay was saying is just what I've tried to express in an opinion of knowing about these meetings, because when my people come to me in my department and they hear something, they like to hear what's going on. And when I can't tell them, I'm not too good of a elected official if I can't tell them what's going on. So whether it be the commissioners' meetings, whether it be the county council meetings, whatever it is, I don't care if it's flipping coins or just sitting and talking, a mass email is not hard to do. And then that way I can pick and choose which meetings I need to go to. It's like that art money. I'd like to make sure I stay in that meeting because of what I want to do with my, thing. Yeah, but, okay, but an email, a mass email to all the department heads. That way I can inform my employees what's going on. That's all I ask.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else going once? Twice. All right. Thank you all for attending. Is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Yes.